Hey guys, how is it going? Okay, so it's Thursday. One more day of school tomorrow, and then you have like 10 days off. So fall break is just around the corner. I know everybody's looking forward to that. Keep in mind though that we do have a Unit 3 test Part 1 tomorrow on Friday. So basically everything we've covered this week, you will be expected to know on the test, and including those vocabulary words. So remember those vocabulary words that we did last Thursday where we talked about zeros, x-intercepts, y-intercepts? Make sure you can find all those things on a graph. So you will have the test on Friday, and I probably will post a short review video tomorrow that you can watch maybe before you take the quiz or something. So today we're going to talk about graphing. This is a huge piece of Unit 3, is how do you graph linear functions. Also keep in mind the grading period ends, so I will not accept work past 3:30 on Friday. So make sure you get everything turned in to me before then. Especially if you're failing, you need to get your work turned in. Okay, so let's take a look at the modules page for today. We are going to put one slide into our journal. So you'll have some reference, maybe some steps for how do you graph. So let's go grab that journal slide. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to. Open up your journal. So remember, your journal is a major grade every 9 weeks. If you are not filling it out in the videos with me as I'm filling it out, it's a huge mistake because you're just setting yourself up for failure. This is the easiest 100 I could possibly give you. I give you the answers in all of these videos, so make sure you are filling in your journal as I'm going through them. Every time I say pause the video, open your journal, insert this slide, I show you how to do it. So you need to be doing those steps along with me so that your journal is ready to go when we grade it at the end of this 9 weeks, at the end of the second 9 weeks, because it will be a major test grade. Okay, so let's go here. Let's grab this journal slide. And I already have my journal opened up over here on this tab. So let me wait for this to load. So it's just one slide today. So again, you can click with 2 fingers on your Chromebook and copy it, or if you want to hit Control-C, that would copy it, but you have to click and Control-C over here on the side. Make sure you're on the side. You can't click on the big page. So let's go down to the bottom of the page, and let's hit Control V. I'm going to hit Control V, and it pasted that slide in right there. Notice I hit Do Not Link. So let's fill in our table of contents. I'm going to zoom in so y'all can see better. So this is Unit 3. Whoops, didn't click over here. Lesson 3. And this one is graphing linear functions. These are lines are functions for sure. So we're going to insert our link slides in this presentation, and it should be slide 6. Apply. Okay, so now I can just click there. It'll take me to our slide for today. Okay, so here are some really, really handy steps to graph a linear equation or function. So when they give you an equation, here's what you do. Make sure it's in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Super important. Remember I said Desmos is not going to graph it for you if it's not in that form. The next thing, then you can graph it in Desmos once you've got it in that form. Then you can identify your y-intercept, and then normal years, if everyone was at school, I would give you a piece of paper with a graph paper on it, and you would sketch the graph. Like we would plot our y-intercept, and we would use our slope, and we would rise and run. But since I can't give everyone paper, and not everyone has a printer at home to print it out, we're changing things up how we were going to do these types of problems. So they're mainly going to be multiple choice. So this makes it even easier for you, right? Okay, so let's just jump in and start looking at some examples. So look at example number 1. So remember, step number 1 is make sure it's in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b is slope-intercept form because they are giving you the slope, m, there's a slope part, and the intercept, b, the y-intercept. So that's why it's called slope-intercept form, m and b. So looking at example 1, I see y is all by itself on this side over here. So yes, it is in slope self-intercept form. Y is equal, here's my M. Remember, M's always sitting in front of X, and then B is the number on the end. So here's what I would do. You have 4 options down here. It could be any of these 4. We need to identify our y-intercept, and we're going to type it here. So if it's in this form, slope-intercept form, I would go ahead right now and I would just head on over to Desmos. So the quickest way for you to find Desmos is to go back to Canvas, and notice it's on the bottom of the page there. And you would click, and then you have to click open in a new tab. Now, I know that on your Chromebooks down at the bottom or on the side, you have a green star. You have a green it looks like this icon right here, actually. It's this icon, and it's Desmos. But here's the deal. That's not the official Texas Star Desmos. So if you are using that one, that Desmos does different things than the one you get to use on the STAR test. It is to your benefit. Yes, you can use it. And yes, when you get to the STAR test, you're going to be shocked when you've been graphing equations in different forms that this STAR version will no longer graph for you. So I tell you these things for your benefit, not to make your life harder, but it's for your benefit so that at the end of the year, because it doesn't matter if you're an on-campus learner or we're at home, you have to take the STAR test and you must pass it if you're going to graduate high school. Okay? Let me make that very clear. So if you're at home, and I know some of you are using PhotoMath, I know some of you are hacking the assignments I'm giving you, and you're finding the answers, and you're cheating. Can I prove it? No. Is it going to be evident when you go take the STAR test at the end of the year and you fail? Yes. And guess what? You're going to be landing yourself right into summer school, where you have to come on campus to summer school and retake the STAR in the summer. And you have to keep retaking it until you pass it, because you are not allowed to graduate. The state of Texas says you can't graduate high school until you pass your STAR test in high school. So when I give you assignments that are self-checking, that give you the answers, and I require you to show work, that's for your benefit, so you know if you're working the problems correctly. It's not so you can submit them and I've already given you the answers and you don't have to do any work. Okay? So when I tell you to go to Canvas and make sure you're using this version of Desmos, there's a really good reason for that. And again, it's for your benefit, because this is what you're going to have to use on the STAR test at the end of the year. Okay, so let me go back over to my journal slide now. So what I need to do is I need to type this equation into Desmos. Here we go. Y equals, and I'm just using my keyboard for this, and I just typed 3/5, and it made it a fraction. So I'm going to arrow over now. I'm going to put my X. Now, if you want, you can use this keypad down here to type too. You could say Y equals 3 divided by 5 X. Oops, see how I put the X in the bottom, and look at my line. It looks really funny. That's how you know it's wrong. I have to arrow over or click over next to it and then put the X, and we need to put -3. -3. Oh, I put equals 3. See, Desmos told me it didn't like it. Okay, there it goes. So now I can zoom out, and here is a picture of my line. So here's what I'm noticing. Here's my origin. My line is below the origin. And here's the cool thing about Desmos. We can click, and it will give me, this is my y-axis. So this is my y-intercept, right? It's -3. Oh, of course it is, because we know our b value is -3. Here's my x-intercept over here, where it crosses the x-axis. Oh, it's at 5. It's crossing at 5. So I'm looking at the picture here of my line, so then I can go back to the choices I have. Which one is it? What did we just say our y-intercept was? We could have found it straight from our equation right here, -3. So our y-intercept is -3. So we're looking, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit further. We're looking for one of these, and I know the pictures are small, but you can zoom in, that's crossing at -3 down here. So notice here's your origin. Notice where your line is. So I need one that's below the origin. And then another thing to notice, is my slope positive or negative? Well, I see my line is increasing, so that's a positive slope. And I also know that because my m value is 3/5. So honestly, I probably didn't even need to graph this one in Desmos. I could have just looked at these things here. I know it's a positive slope, so it can't be A, because look, that's a negative slope. And it's not crossing at -3. It's crossing up here at 1, 2, +3. Same thing with this one. It's crossing at 1, 2, 3, +3. So it has to either be C or D. So which one is it? They're both crossing at 1, 2, 3. They're both crossing at -3. Go back to Desmos and notice this one's increasing. This is a positive slope. So this one's increasing. This one's decreasing. So it has to be C. So what you would do is take one of your check marks down here, where you click and drag them, put it over C. So that way you know the answer is C. Okay, so let's do another example together. Look at example 2. Same steps. I'm going to go ahead and drag my check mark down here closer because I know I'm going to need it in a minute. Okay. So we're going to use the same steps, but remember what step number 1 is. Make sure your equation is in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Because watch this. Here's my equation. 2x minus 3y equals -18. 2x minus 3y equals -18. What is Desmos telling me? I have no picture, and I'm clicking over here, and it says it's disabled. It's not going to graph this. So if you're using, I'm going to be honest with you, if you're using the one that's on your Chromebook down here at the bottom on your toolbar, yeah, it's going to graph that for you, and it's going to show you the picture. And you can do all of my assignments, and yes, it'll be easier for you, and you could graph those. But then you're going to get to the STAR test at the end of the year, and you're going to try to graph something, and when you're on the STAR, Desmos is not going to work for you. And what you've been doing all year long is not going to benefit you anymore. And you're going to have a hard time passing STAR. Okay, so I'm sorry. I know I'm beating a dead horse, and I know I'm being really blunt, but it's for your benefit. I care about you. I want you to pass the STAR test, so this is why I'm being honest with you. So this version of STAR, this is why it's important. Use the one that I linked here in Canvas. It won't graph that. Okay, so if you try to graph something and you get that triangle exclamation, well, here we go. We have to solve this for y. It's not in the right form. Desmos wants it to be solved for y. Just like if you were going to put it in the calculator. Whoops. Let me kind of get that to go away there. Just like if you were going to put it in the calculator. The calculator wouldn't graph it for you anyway. So here it is. I've already written it. If you notice, I've already written it here on my iPad. So you might need a piece of paper here. So 2x minus 3y equals -18. So let's solve it for y. This is what we practiced yesterday. We should be really good at this. So we would draw our line. Remember, we want the y term by itself. So let's begin by adding or subtracting the x term. Well, it's +2, so I could subtract 2 x's on both sides. Okay, so now that I do that, that's great because these terms over here cancel out. 2 minus 2 is 0. So I'm just left with -3y equals, okay, so now I have -18 minus 2x. Those are not like terms. Remember, I just write them down. And it doesn't matter what order you write them in. Honestly, Desmos will graph them in either order. So that's what's really cool. Okay, so now the last step is to divide by whatever's in front of y. Well, it happens to be -3. So I have to divide everything by -3, right? Now those threes, -3's in front of the y, that cancels. And I'm just left with y equals negative divided by negative becomes a positive. And 2 over 3 is just a fraction. 2 over 3. I'm going to bring down my x. Remember, he can sit beside or he can sit in the numerator in the top. He just can't go in the denominator. And then I have -18 divided by 3. Well, negative divided by positive is a negative. And you can use your calculator for this too. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So there is my equation solved for y. So 2/3 x minus 6. So now I'm going to come back over here to Desmos now that I've solved it. And I'm going to tell it, now graph this. Y equals 2/3. I have to arrow over x minus 6. Make sure you type it in correctly. Okay, so I can see it's crossing down here at -6, and of course it is. That's what our b value is. That's our y-intercept, and my slope is 2/3, which means I should be able to rise up 1, 2, and run 1, 2, 3, and get to another point. Aha, I can. I can also see that my x-intercept, where it's crossing the x-axis, is +9. That's really easy to see. Okay, so this is what my line looks like. Notice it's also a positive slope. It's increasing and it's still below the origin. So let's look at our choices here. Well, this one is crossing way up here. And I know I'm looking for one that was crossing at, what was our y-intercept? We can go ahead and type it here so we can keep an eye on it. It was -6. That one's crossing at +6, so it can't be A. C is also crossing at +6. So it's got to be B or D. So which one was it? So is it the one that's decreasing or the one that's increasing? Let's go back to Desmos. Oh, remember, it was increasing. It's a positive slope. So really, we know it has to be D. Okay, so this concept is what you're going to carry on into your assignment for today, graphing linear functions. So real quick, let's pull that up and let me show you. Oh, I'm going to need to leave my student view here so I can get it to load. So what you want to do is you want to click your link right here so that it opens larger in a new tab. Okay, so remember, mine's not on here, but your submit button is right here, and you know it's submitted after it puts the date and time underneath right here where the date you submitted it. So this is one similar to the activity you were doing yesterday. It's self-checking, and again, I give you these so that you can check to make sure you are doing it correctly, you know what you're doing. And you will have problems like this throughout the year and on STAR. And so this is why it's important. Practice using that correct Desmos. Okay, so there we go. It loaded now. So here are your problems. Now I did an example so you could see how to enter them. So you'll just type your letter of the graph that matches. The same way we just matched them in our notes. You're going to need a piece of paper. You'll solve these for y using your piece of paper. Then you're going to type in the slope, and then you're going to type in your y-intercept. Now, when you identify your y-intercept, make sure you do it as an ordered pair. So you can click in Desmos, and it'll give you the y-intercept as an ordered pair. So make sure you're typing it in that form for this one. Yesterday, you just needed to type the number, like you would just have typed 2 here. But I want you to know that you can give it to you in both forms. So take each equation, solve it, just like the example I solved. Some of these are already in y equals mx plus b form. Look at number 3. Now number 4, maybe that one looks different. Maybe you're not sure. So if you're not sure, you can always hop on over to Desmos and you can try to graph it and see what it gives you. And then get your slope, get your y-intercept, type those in. Match it to your graphs are all over here on the side that you're going to match them to, okay? So if you have any questions, let me know, reach out, send me an email.